Welcome back to Beauty and the Beast. Let's turn our first letter over and have a look at what good we can do in the world today, ladies. Dear Doug and Beauties, I recently saw a photo in the Sydney Morning Herald of the new detention centre being built in Port Augusta. How can anyone think that this would be a pleasurable place to stay? It's in the middle of a hot, dusty desert with nothing for miles around. Living in such a place would be difficult for any of us, let alone people who are already traumatised and far from home. Phoebe, it sounds like Las Vegas. Moreover, I think it should be a deterrent, shouldn't it? It should be a horrible place. I think they need to change the name to, say, maybe Death Camp 13. And while we're at name changing, what about some of these first points of call? You know, Ashmore Reef, that's not very intimidating. Shark Reef. I think we need to change it to Shark Reef. Nobody get in a boat and launch it against Shark Reef. And I think Christmas Island is all very appealing. Plague Island. Change the name to Plague Island. Should these places be more attractive for people who are entering the country illegally, Cleo?
I think I'm going to have to step outside my hedonistic middle-class bubble for this one and say that the one thing that I always loved about this country and about our culture was the fair go. And the thing that we've got to remember is, the crux of the matter is that these people are innocent victims that are fleeing, risking life and limb to flee, and it's something we would all do. So the whole idea that they're just trying to headbutt the queue is just, I think, so facile and so
But the notion is that they aren't innocent victims, isn't it? The notion is that these are queue jumpers, that people who paid large amounts of money to smugglers to get into a country illegally.
The notion is that many of these people are fleeing intolerable regimes.
I agree.
They're fleeing, and the thing that I think is interesting is the way that the media on this one is trying to pierce that fog that we're all living in. Because it's interesting, Phoebe says, how can anyone think this would be a pleasurable place to stay, insofar as they're thinking about it at all? And I remember being genuinely shocked when I saw that somebody wrote an article about the lawyer, the Boland, who's representing a lot of the asylum seekers, and one of the quotes was, "Please get us out of this hellhole." And just the idea that there's this personal plea because of this psychological damage that's being done to children, because they're tantamount to being in hell, in this sort of hellish jail. These children are going to be scarred for life, and it's on our soil, under our flag. I think that we should be really ashamed, and I think the media is trying to jog us all into creating such a stink that something will be done.
With this particular detention centre is that it's going to be for short-term processing of visas, and that's what we've got to work on, the process
but that
for...
hasn't been fully established yet. I mean, you make a joke about this, you know, but... Oh, God, I've got a mental blank, sorry.
I made a joke about it because I thought we've heard this story so many times and answered this question so many times, I'm sick of saying the same old things. I totally agree with Cleo. This is a nation that has a fantastic record on human rights, that has treated refugees compassionately, but we do have issues about sovereign territory, and we don't want to encourage people.
Many years ago I actually
the issue is simply this. One, we're going to have these people, they're going to keep coming here. Two, when they come here, we have to treat them compassionately. Certainly we need to expedite the process. Sometimes now it's taking 3 years to determine these people's status. We've got to shorten that period up. In the meantime, should the places that these people are placed be humane? Yes, they should. Should they be holiday camps? No, they shouldn't. It should be somewhere in the middle.
But many years ago I actually travelled to Poland, and the reason I went there, and you're going to be all up in arms about this, but the reason I went there was because I actually wanted to see the Nazi concentration camps for myself. And I'm not saying that the Australian government's treatment of asylum seekers is on par with the Nazi Germany's treatment of refugees. No, but when you look at the photos of Woomera, of the detention centres, of Port Augusta, of this new Baxter place, they look like concentration camps. They're surrounded by barbed wire. They are in isolated areas,
they have
in
to
desolate
detain
areas.
Agnes, they have to detain these people
like criminals, and they're not criminals.
Some of them may be. The point is, until we establish who they are and where they came from and what they did, it's quite possible, if I may finish, that some of them may be criminals. And in that event, they need to be detained.
Saying you're all guilty of something and you've got to prove you're innocent.
We have to make sure that people who have serious criminal records aren't allowed to walk freely in the streets of our sovereign nation. For Christ's sake, let me finish. You raised a point. You accused Australia of creating Dachau.
No,
I'm suggesting to you that we do have a right to protect our citizens.
I said if you look at the photos, to me there are similarities. There are similarities. That barbed wire isn't keeping people out.
How do you...
This is not a holiday camp.
No, it's keeping people in. It's keeping people who may be a risk to our society.
And when you take away someone's hope, you know, that's a dreadful, dreadful thing, and
Sure.
it drives them to do desperate acts.
Sure.
They're jumping on barbed wire.
Sure.
They are attempting suicide.
Because they've been in
they
too
are
long.
sewing up their mouths.
So we've got to work at the
As a
process to speed
protest.
up, because you can't
They have
just
to be
let...
treated with
Yes.
more warmth. Aren't we compassionate
Yes,
in Australia?
we need to be more compassionate. The centres need to be more humane, and we certainly need to expedite the process. But we can't let people who may be a danger to Australian citizens wander the street
why do
free.
you say they
Could we
may
just
be in
hear from
danger?
Prue on this one, please?
Look, that's so true. I mean, it's not supposed to be a holiday resort. I agree that they are supposed to be. They're here for safe haven. We are providing these people, albeit behind bars, because we cannot presume all of them are innocent victims. A lot of them are. We are giving them a safe haven as refugees. We're giving them air conditioning. We're giving them food. We're giving them shelter. We're giving them education, health. We're giving them all these things, albeit behind bars. And the reason the bars are there is because we have to protect, the government has to protect Australian citizens from people who may be trying to get here and infiltrate here and who may become a danger to society. Now, I don't think anyone sitting here can say the government's doing the wrong thing. Sure, the processing needs to be faster. Sure, if the children can be taken away to a foster home and cared for away from it, I haven't got a problem with that. But I think that the government has to process these people fast, I agree. But let's protect Australia. These people want to come here because it's a safe country. It's not going to be safe if we have infiltration of people who may jeopardise that safety.
I mean, who knows? Some of these people could be witches.
Goodness gracious, that would be dreadful. Actually, I just want to make a point here because I'm living in Los Angeles now, and so I'm not saying all Mexicans are bad people by any means, but certainly our house cleaner is a lovely Mexican lady and with family, and she said to me herself, like she went through the proper channels to get American citizenship, and she said it frustrates her that illegal immigrants will run the border, and she says she's got neighbours that steal from her, she's got, you know, and whether they're Mexican, whether they're whatever, but people that haven't been sort of checked, you know, and I guess, you know, I'm living in a country now where, in America where, you know, they didn't have strict border policies, I guess, and for a long time, they're trying to implement it now, and in a way it's too little too late. But the people that do want to sort of provide honestly, or, you know, like contribute honestly to the community, avail themselves of the extraordinary opportunities in America and do the right thing, are being let down. And certainly I think Australia has a chance to get it right. I agree with Agnes. I think the places look like concentration camps. I'm half Jewish and I look at that and I just go, oh my goodness, you know, but I think the thing is it's splitting the diff on the current situation. We need to be a little bit more understanding of their situation, give them a bit more of a break, but certainly process them in the proper way.
Jeannie, can you create a detention centre that looks anything other than a detention centre?
Look, darling, look, truly, Phoebe, isn't it? Darling, they're used to absolutely nothing, dirt on the floor, no food, dirty water and everything, and actually their friends have written to them and said, you come to Australia and as soon as you get here, as soon as your feet touch the ground, you get free medical, dentistry, pensions, money thrown at you, everything. And so there's all those do-gooders at the detention centre saying, listen, you know, if you carry on and everything like that, you will be sort of, you know, out of here earlier. And truly, darling, I think that all of these people are told to act like that, because years ago when people came here to a safe country, they didn't ever act like that. So why are they?
Well, we probably just didn't hear about it, Jeannie.
No, they're being told to be revolting.
No, I don't think so. I think these people are escaping oppressive regimes.
I think they are terrorists.
I think what's horrible is there was a quote in, I think it was The Age, from the mayor of Port Augusta. Sorry, I'm bringing out an old quote. But the mayor of the place where Port Augusta is built, has said, if the bastards can't look after them at Woomera, we don't want them here. I'd like to a lot of them.
Oh, well, that's horrible.
Person. You can't
Oh,
just
not that bad.
I'm just saying that we do need to be a little bit more compassionate. But of
Certainly.
course we need this.
compassionate.
Certainly the mayor of Port Augusta needs to be more compassionate.
And also, Dougie's children don't want to be blown up, and I don't want my daughter blown up.
No, and I don't want them living in Woomera either. I tell you what, it looks like hell to me. We'll be back after the break with a gentleman who dresses like Liberace.